to handle my fault, my strokes, screw-ups, my mess-ups, because he's already prepared for what I might do. He knows what I'm going to do before I do it, and he already made preparation for me before I get there. What follows darkness is light. That darkness is the indicator that light is getting ready to shine. So there it is in Genesis, when darkness was upon the face of the deep, and God in the spirit form moved upon the face of the waters, and then God said, let there be. Because darkness precedes the light. Are you understanding what I'm saying? But he needs the darkness there so that God can move upon the face of the deep, so that the shift can take place. Listen, look at your neighbor and tell your neighbor that shift take place in the darkness. Oh, y'all didn't hear what I just said. Everybody's not going to see the shift that's happening. They see the chaos, but they don't see the shift. They see all the craziness going on in your life, but they don't understand that underneath the darkness, God is moving in secret. He's moving in quiet. He's moving in the hidden places. He's moving in the cracks and the corners and the crevices. He's moving in places that you cannot see. And when the light comes, they're going to see a new order. Afraid to dream, afraid to imagine. But I'm here to tell you that you are an infinite, limitless, boundless being. Are you willing to do what is necessary to have what you desire?
Thank you for joining us. Please take a moment and like the Facebook page. Subscribe to the YouTube page and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified when we go live. If you are finding value in these enrichment sessions, please consider supporting this page financially. Your donations allow us to continue to provide spiritual enlightenment, self-exploration, and kingdom knowledge. Also, consider becoming a partner because partnerships have this privilege. As a partner, you'll be able to attend our annual Partners Only Summer Summit, join us for our 6 a.m. virtual daily guided meditation sessions, weekly advanced empowerment sessions, regular prophetic insights and instructions, 30% discount on all Emerge books and merchandise, and a custom Emerge t-shirt. You'll also gain full access to the private Emerge Movement community page as well as group chats. Once again, thank you for watching.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Emerge Empowerment Session. I am your host, Isaac J. Miles Sr., and I'm overjoyed that you have decided to join me this morning for what is going to be a powerful conscious conversation. I know that you're going to gain so much insight, understanding, revelation, and inspiration from being a part of this empowerment session this morning. I am glad to see you, all of you that are watching me all across Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram, as well as those of you who are watching on TikTok. Thank you for joining me this morning. I don't want to spend too much time on the preliminaries because I got a lot of ground to cover and a very brief moment to do so. So let's go ahead and take care of the housekeeping things very quickly. Number one thing that I need everybody to do across all platforms, please share this live. Share it with your friends, your family, your mama, your daddy, your sister, your cousin, them. Share it with everybody that you know that you feel would be blessed and empowered and would benefit from being a part of this conscious conversation that we're having today. Today, we're going to use the topic echoes from the future. This is a topic that I spoke on about a month and a half ago when I went, it was in January, boy, it was January. Back in January, when I went down to Fort Pierce to speak at an anniversary engagement for a dear friend of mine, and that was the theme that they used for their particular anniversary. And so I used that theme, added a little bit of a tagline, "You know more than you think," to speak to that particular group that was there. And I was thinking about that this morning and the implications of that statement. And I thought this would be a great conversation to have with you who are tuned in with us this morning. Echoes, usually we think of an echo coming from the past, but we're talking about echoes from the future. This is going to be really, really good. So share this live with all of your friends, your family. Share it with everybody that you can think of. Please know that the comment section is open. You can always post your comments and your questions and your concerns. And I want to make sure that I address those during the course of the live as much as time permits. Number two, I need for you to like and engage with this live. Those of you watching me on TikTok, double tap the screen. Let's get those likes up as high as we possibly can. Last week, we had the largest audience that we've ever had on TikTok. I appreciate all of you who tuned in. I want to beat that record today. So please double tap the screen and continue to invite your friends to come. Those of you watching on all of the platforms, hit the like button or all of the other emoji buttons. Interact with this live. Make sure that you are commenting. And then number three, I need you to tag. This doesn't really apply to those of you on TikTok, but those of you watching on Facebook, tag as many people in the comments as you possibly can, just as you see Toya Coffee doing over here. She's tagging numbers of people. She does it all the time. I really appreciate you so much, Toya. I need everybody else that's watching to tag as many people as you possibly can. And yes, I'm talking really fast because I'm trying to get through the preliminary so that we can get into the teaching without using up too much time. I sound like an auctioneer, don't I? Okay. So with all of that being said, let's get into our conversation for this morning. Our topic of discussion is echoes from the future. Echoes from the future, that you know more than you think. You know more than you are consciously aware of knowing. You know more than what your thoughts seem to suggest that you have a working knowledge of. I am here to remind you and engage you with the idea that there are there is knowledge, there is knowledge deeply buried, loaded, and coded within your DNA that while you may not be consciously aware of, it is tucked away and written in your subconsciousness, and that you are getting echoes that are there to remind you of a future that you co-created with the all of everything that is God prior to your coming into this three-dimensional existence. That nothing, if I may contend with you this morning, nothing just happens. Nothing is an accident. Nothing is a coincidence. There are no things that happen in your life that just are a matter of happenstance. If it is occurring in your life, if they are showing up in your life, if you end up in a particular place, situation, or circumstance, it is all by divine design. Let me say it again, that whoever shows up in your life, whatever occurs in your life, if you happen to show up in a particular place or situation or circumstance, it is not just by happenstance, but it is all by design, divine design, that you and God, the creator of all things, co-created prior to your entering this three-dimensional existence that we call Earth. There is a text in the Bible, Jeremiah chapter 29, that says, I know the thoughts. This is speaking from the perspective of God speaking, saying, I know the thoughts I think concerning you, thoughts of good and not evil. Listen to what it says, to bring you to an expected, a predestined, predetermined end, to bring you to an outcome that I am already consciously aware of, to bring you to an outcome that has already been decided and written, to bring you to an outcome that you and the God of the universe co-created prior to your entrance into this world. Before your mom met your dad, before your grandmother met your grandfather, before any of your ancestors got together and passed down the genome that would ultimately become you, you and God in eternity past, in the ether, the isness, the mind of God, co-created a reality of every iteration of life that you would experience in this three-dimensional form. Every single iteration has already been co-created. You were not forced into this life. Listen to what I'm saying to you. You were not forced, pushed, or corralled or coerced into this life, but that you, along with God, co-created this reality, and by choice you entered this plane of consciousness so that you might fulfill an original intent or a purpose, the reason for your coming to this plane of consciousness. Everyone has at one point or another asked yourself, why am I here? What am I doing here? Why is this happening? Why is this occurring? Why did I survive when no one else did? Why have I succeeded when others around me who grew up in the same circumstances have not succeeded or seem to be having so many struggles? Why is it that this is taking place or that? Who would have thought that I would encounter this, that, or the other person out of all of the people in the world, the billions of them, that I would encounter this person at this place at this time? And it seems very random until you began to investigate our co-creation with God and the predestined, predetermined plan that we agreed to and helped to formulate prior to entering this iteration and every iteration of life that we will experience. And so we have an expected end. We have an end that has already been written. We have an end that we are working toward the fulfillment and the manifestation of. And it is not an end that has been forced on us, hoisted on us, placed on us by God, but that we co-created with God and voluntarily embraced and agreed to enter this plane of consciousness to experience and to fulfill. Remember that God has no preference. God is simply God, and God has always been God, but the God that has always been, that was the all of everything and is the all of everything, only knew itself as the all of everything conceptually. And in order for it to know itself experientially, it had to become what it is not. And so what it did was put us in form. God breathed into the nostrils of this form, and man became a living nephesh, that is a conscious, aware being, God in three-dimensional form, able not only to be consciously aware of its surrounding, but aware of itself and to experientially live in this three-dimensional world. So the purpose of our existence, the general absolute purpose of our existence, is that God, we are the vehicle, we are the vehicle through which God is able to experience and express itself in form. Let me say that again. You might want to write this down. That we, as divine beings, are the vehicle, we are the conduit, we are the container, if you will, by which God is able to experience and express itself in human form. We are literally God in the flesh, God in three-dimensional form. And this experience is an experience that was not forced on us, but that we co-created with God prior to our entrance into this three-dimensional realm. Let's go on further and solidify what I'm saying. And for those of you who are from various faiths, I am going to use the Bible not as a cudgel, not as a rule book, but just to give some basic spiritual principles that are universal across every religious ideology and all spiritual thought, in order for us to get a clear understanding of these concepts. Stay with me. So in a world where we are often consumed by the present moment, that we are focused and inundated by all of the things that are going on around us, bombarded by the cascading amounts of information and experiences that are coming right before us, it is very easy for us to become consumed with the present. It is equally easy, because of our emotional makeup, to become tethered and tied to past experiences. Everything around us, including our culture and environment, families and friends, all tend to support the idea that past is prologue, that we are tied and tethered to the past experiences, past circumstances, past connections, and that they somehow dictate the reality of our life. But ladies and gentlemen, we are not our past. Lord, let me say that again. I'm not going to get bogged down there because I got a lot of ground to cover, but I want to repeat that very important statement. We, you, and I are not our past. I don't care how terrible it might have been or how wonderful it might have been. I don't care what choices and decisions you may have made. You are not defined by your past. You are not tied or tethered to your past. And guess what? You are not tied to your present at this moment, because all we live in is the eternal moment of now, which is changing with every millisecond. Because at the passing of the first millisecond, what was the present now becomes the past. Are you hearing what I'm saying? That the past is constantly being formed and shaped by the passing moments of the present. And so the eternal moment of now says that we are living in every moment, in every second. Then what do we do about what we call the future? The theme, Echoes of the Future, invites us to discern the whispers of God whispering to us that reality that we co-created with God prior to our coming into this three-dimensional realm. It resonates with us and through us, pulling us, summoning us, if you will, toward a purpose that transcends our current reality. This message, this teaching today is bridging the spiritual and metaphysical as well as biblical perspective to explore how we align our destiny so that we might become the manifestation of that which we co-created with the divine prior to our coming into this three-dimensional world. So let's begin with the beginning. The beginning, as most people, especially those who follow Christian doctrine, that they think that the beginning begins with Genesis chapter 1. But in reality, if you read it carefully, you will find that the actual beginning of our existence begins in John chapter 1. St. John chapter 1 says, "In the beginning was the Word." In the beginning was the Word. The word, the term that is used there for word, is not rhema. That is the Greek word which means to speak or declare or to proclaim. But it is the Greek word logos. The word logos literally means a thought, a concept, an idea, or an imagination. Listen to what he says. So in the beginning, before time began, before the earth was formed, before there was ever anything that would exist, God had a thought, an idea, a concept. Are you hearing me? An imagination. In the beginning was the imagination, the idea, the thought, the concept. In the beginning was the logos, and the word, or that thought, idea, or concept was with God, and that word, listen to what it says, that concept, that idea was God. You cannot separate God from its thoughts. God is whatever it thinks, and whatever God thinks comes into being. The reality of it is created the moment that God has the idea. That is the essence of divinity. So in the beginning, God had a thought, an idea, a concept, an imagination. And that imagination was with God, one with God, a part of God, and it was God. Are you hearing me? Now, then he says, but then with the passage of time, he says, and that thought, that idea, that concept, that imagination took on form. That is, it became flesh, is what it says in the Bible. That word, that idea, that concept, that imagination became flesh. This is where the Genesis allegory or narrative comes into place. It is when God then forms man from the dust of the earth. What is he forming? He is forming the body, a container. He is not creating man. If you read the text carefully in Genesis, it does not say it creates man, but it forms man from the dust. It forms all of mankind. That is this three-dimensional form of body. But when is man created? It is created, mankind is created the moment that God had the thought. In the beginning, God had the thought, the idea, and the concept. And now God seeks to experience the thought and the idea and the concept in three-dimensional form. So the word, the thought, the idea, the concept, the imagination has to become three-dimensional form or flesh. And so the Genesis narrative says, and God breathes out of its mouth. That is an anthropomorphism because we understand that God is spirit. So we're giving it a human characteristic, but God is not a human. So God breathes out of its mouth the breath of life and into the nostril of that three-dimensional form that is lifeless laying there on the ground, and mankind goes from just being a thought, an idea, a concept, or an imagination, but becomes a living, here's the Hebrew word, nephesh, a consciously aware soul, a conscious, animated being in three-dimensional form. Are you with me? Stay with me because I know I'm giving you a lot, but I got to do it encapsulated because I've only got about 30 minutes left. Okay. So the beginning for mankind begins when God has the thought and the idea. The Genesis narrative picks up after the idea has been created within the conscious mind of God, and now the idea takes shape or takes form. Metaphorically, okay, we understand the Genesis narrative is an allegory. It is not literal. And I don't have time to go into trying to prove all of that to all of you watching. You either accept it or you don't, and you do the research on your own. Okay? So then we now tie that to another key text or principle that is laid out from the Bible. It is found in Romans chapter 8, verses 28 through 30, where it says, and we know all things work together for good to them that love God and to them who are called according to his purpose. Now, that's a huge declaration to make, that everything that will occur in the life of those who are the called of God is good. Now, all of us are the called of God because we are all emanate out of God. And listen to what he says. He says, everything is for us and nothing is against us. Everything is working or interconnected, intertwined. Everything that occurs in our life from its inception, conception to its transitional end is somehow intertwined and interconnected together, and it is designed for good. Listen to that. Wow. How can you make such a declaration? Well, he goes on to explain the reason behind this declaration and why it is solidified in truth. He goes on to say, this is it. Listen to what he says. For whom he foreknew, them he predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son. That's a powerful statement. Whom he foreknew. It uses the pronoun he because, of course, you know, that is the working pronoun of the time. Women at that time were considered property, so it uses just the general term he, but we understand that God is neither male nor female. God is spirit. But he says, whom God foreknew, listen to that, them he also predestined. What did he predestine them to do? To be conformed, shaped, and molded into the image of his Son. While Paul, in the writing of this, considers the Son to be Jesus the Christ, the ascended master. So he says that the predestined, predetermined plan of God is for all of us to be formed, shaped, and molded into the same image or likeness, the same ability, the same skill, the same access, the same power as Christ, Jesus the Christ. Christ was not his last name. Christ describes the consciousness of God, of Jesus as an ascended master. He says that God's determined plan is for you to be conformed and shaped into the likeness, the isness, the same capacity and ability as the ascended master, and operate with the same Christ consciousness. Let this mind be in you that was also in Christ. So that thought it not robbery to see himself. What did Christ think? He thought it not robbery to see himself as equal with God. And so he says you should think of yourself in the same way that Christ thought of himself, that is, as being equal with God, that is, being a divine expression, the animated form of God in three-dimensional form. But the word that is most powerful is foreknowledge, whom God foreknew. This illustrates that there had to be an existence of mankind prior to coming to this earth, because you cannot foreknow. You cannot know something or someone. It says, for whom God foreknew. That's talking about a being of some sort. You cannot know someone that doesn't exist. So if the principle here and the declaration is whom God foreknew, it means that mankind had to exist in some form for it to be known by God and for it to have a predestined confirmation or conformity rather to the image and the likeness of the Christ. You cannot predetermine the outcome of a being that doesn't exist. So he says, you existed. I foreknew you. I had a relationship, intimacy, closeness with you prior to your existence in form. And we then, as one, in the beginning, this idea, thought, concept, imagination was with God and was God. We then co-created what would be your reality in every iteration of your life in this three-dimensional world. Are you hearing what I'm saying? We predetermined what the outcome would be. From conception to transition, we, you and God, us and God, predetermined what the outcome of our life would be. That's what he says. How did he know us? How do we solidify that further? Well, there's another text in Ephesians chapter 1, verses 1 through 3 that says this: Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus the Christ, who has blessed us. Listen to what he says, who has, that is past tense. Listen to what the text now, it says, who has blessed us with all spiritual blessings. So we're not talking about money, cars, homes, land, or finance. We are talking about spiritual blessings, spiritual endowment, spiritual empowerment with divinity. That is omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresence, and omniactivity, created limitless creativity with all spiritual blessings. When did he do it? According to Ephesians chapter 1, verses 3 through 4, he blessed us in all heavenly places in the Christ, that is in the word Christ in the New Testament is the word Christos, which means the anointing. So we were blessed with all of these spiritual empowerments in the anointing or in the Spirit. Where did he bless us? In the anointing, in the Spirit that was in heavenly places. Well, we understand that heaven is not some town or city sitting up in the sky. Heaven is the higher consciousness and the thought of God. And so in the beginning, in God's imagination, thought, idea, and concept, when we were created in its mind, it endowed us with all of the spiritual powers of divinity in that heavenly places, heavenly place. Listen, according to as God has chosen us, selected us. Where did it select us? It says it chose us in himself. So this tells us where the heavenly place is, because it cannot be outside of God, since God is all encompassing. It says that we were empowered with all of this divinity, all these blessings in heavenly places, and then tells us where the heavenly place is. It chose us in himself. In God, in the mind of God, in the thought of God, in the idea and the concept. When we were created within the mind of God, we were endowed with all spiritual divinity and power and ability and blessings. When did it do so? Before, according to Ephesians, before the foundations of the world, before God ever said, let there be, before there was, in the beginning was, God created the heavens and the earth, before there was the creation of the heavens and the earth, before there was the terra firma and the skies above and the waters that covered upon the face of the deep, before the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, before God said, and let there be, we existed in God and had already been endowed with divinity, chosen to enter into this three-dimensional form and to ultimate outcome, be conformed into the image of the Christ. So this is in a place and space before time began, before the earth was formed, before the foundations of the world. Metaphysically, the concept of time as we perceive it is a human construct. The past, the present, and the future are all interconnected. Time is not linear, it is spiral, even though time itself is an illusion. It is a human construct by which we measure, but it is not linear. It is more spiral. That is to say, there is no real past, present, or future, but everything simply is in the eternal moment of now. And that everything that has, will, or is taking place simultaneously across every dimension and every facet of being. We are living in that reality, and that every thought, every intention, and every action that we take in the eternal moment of now sends ripples throughout all of eternity, shaping what we will call echoes. Every thought, every word, and every action, that's the process of creation and manifestation, that we make in this eternal moment of now, in this iteration of life and every iteration that follows, sends a ripple effect across all of eternity, creating what we would call an echo. But the echo is not coming from, quote unquote, the past. It is not a reminder of what has been or what has happened in this three-dimensional form, but it is a reminder of what is to come. Are you understanding what I'm saying so far? Man, I got 20 minutes. I got to hurry. Okay? So, there's a text in Romans 10 that says, what we accept as our truth, faith, cometh by hearing. Faith, what we accept as our truth, what we hold as our most dominant thought, comes by hearing. The word hearing in the Greek is the word ekion, from which we get the word echo. Faith comes by what is echoed in our conscious mind, what is echoed, what is on repeat. Most often, we think of this in terms of the past. Faith, what we accept as true in our life, is created and initiated. What we accept as our reality by what we have heard or that has been echoed in our life. The text is actually written in the aorist tense, which actually means, it actually reads in the Greek, faith, what we accept as truth, as our dominant thought, comes by what we hear again and again and again and again and again. What we hear and hear and hear and hear and hear. Most often, we relate this to what we hear from our culture, our family, our surrounding, our religion. What you have been told shapes what you think and what you believe. You believe in Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam. You believe in whatever religion that you practice because that's the culture environment that you were brought up in, and that's what you were taught again and again and again. So you accept it as true. Had you been raised in a different part of the world, in a different culture, in a different religious ideology, you would accept that as true. That's why it's so ridiculous for you to sit there and think that your religion has cornered the market on God. Because all religions teach that we're the only one. That's a real sign to you that something's wrong right there. Anytime anyone says that we're the only ones right and everybody else is wrong, run. Okay? You take on the cultural, environmental, religious, experiential information that you were raised in. That determines what you believe. It becomes your dominant thought. But ladies and gentlemen, what we need to understand, and what I'm driving to this morning, is that echoes don't just come from what we call the past. They are not just what we have heard, but they are also what we are hearing. Ooh, let me say it again. That our faith, what becomes our most dominant thought, is not just based upon the echoes that have come from the past, but they also come from those things that we are hearing and that which we would call future, or that which has not manifested in our life as of yet. This is what is called intuition, inspiration, and unction. Write those three words down. Inspiration, intuition, and unction, which can all be supported by something called synchronicities. 4 terms: intuition, inspiration, unction, supported by synchronicities. Okay, I got 15 minutes to unpack this and I'm done. So that's what, about 5 minutes on each That would be leaving out synchronicities, assuming that you understand what synchronicities are to some degree. Okay. Synchronicities are the evidence of things not seen. Woo! Those of you who understand, who know that text from Hebrews 11. Synchronicities are the evidence of things not seen. They are the indicators that what you accept, believe, and hold as your most dominant truth, your most dominant thought, your truth, really does exist, and it's headed toward you. That's what synchronicities are. But let me unpack those three things. Okay? So when we talk about unction, inspiration, and intuition, we are talking about your co-created outcome, which is leaving breadcrumbs for you to follow that show you the path or the journey or the direction that you should take. It is never true. This is going to be a very bold statement. It is never true that you don't know what to do. You always know exactly what to do. You may not be consciously aware of what you know, but the knowing is always within you. Everything that you co-created with God prior to your coming into this three-dimensional form is written in your DNA. It is a part of your human structure and your soul being. It is loaded and coded in your DNA forever throughout eternity. You always know. You have an internal knowing, an intuitive knowing, an inspirational knowing, and an unction that pushes you toward that which you already know. When you declare verbally, I don't know what to do, you are deadening and shrouding the sound of your own voice, your own divinity, from emerging within you with the answer, the direction, the solution that you seek. Can I tell you that you are the answer that you're looking for? You are the solution that you're waiting for. You are the direction that you are trying to figure out. It is already within you, but you disempower yourself when you begin to declare, I don't know. You can say, I may not be consciously aware. I am not cognizant of what the next step is, but I can ask, go inward and ask my own divine self, my spirit, that is God in me, what's next? What's my next move? What direction should I take? What is the next step in this progression? What path should I follow? Because you always have inspiration, intuition, which is an inclination, and you have unction. Let's define those three terms in these next 10 minutes. First, let's begin with inspiration. Inspiration is like a glimpse of destiny. Inspiration often feels like a burst of energy or vision that propels us forward. This is more than just creativity. It can be a connection to the higher vision and version of ourselves that we, along with God, sees and calls us to become. When we feel inspired, it is because we are tapping into the divine blueprint for our lives. Inspiration is us tapping into the divine blueprint that we co-created with God prior to our entrance into this existence, the blueprint that we laid out for our life. Don't ignore your inspiration. Don't ignore this burst of imagination and creativity and idea and inspiring that is emerging within you, especially now. Because we are in the third month of a 9-year, a year empowered by the energy of the number 9, which represents the end of the old and the beginning of the new. And so many of you are feeling this surge of inspiration coming up inside of you, this burst of energy, this burst of creativity and imagination flowing inside of you. And it can almost seem overwhelming and confusing because you've got so much emerging at the same time. This is where you have to have practiced the discipline that you develop through fasting to be able to compartmentalize your thoughts and organize those thoughts so that you don't dispel or dismiss any real inspiration, but that you are able to examine them and prioritize them so that you are able to follow through and bring them to fruition and manifestation. Inspiration is one of the breadcrumbs that we've left for ourselves so that as we are remembering, reconfiguring, being reminded, reconstructing the plan and the predestined purpose of our life, these breadcrumbs are there for us to follow to remind us of the choice that we made prior to our coming into this three-dimensional form. Then there are unctions. I'm moving quickly because I have limited time. That's inspiration. Then there are unction. Unctions are divine guidance that comes from within, from our spirit, as well as from divine beings like our ancestors and angels, offering us guidance. Unctions. Have you ever felt inside of you this unction to do, say, go, or be something? You'll call it something. Something told me I should. Something told me I shouldn't. Something told me to go here. Something told me that something, not something, something. Okay, that something is unction. It's another of the breadcrumbs that you left for yourself. It is that moment where the predestined plan and purpose of God co-created with you begins to push up against your conscious mind and give you this little sprout of inspiration and unction, a push toward doing and moving in a direction that aligns with the predetermined plan that would bring you to the place of being conformed into the image of the Christ consciousness, that is, into the image of that which you predetermined and purposed prior to entering this three-dimensional form. You experience these unctions, this leading, this guidance, whether it is from within or without or both, that is internally from your divine spirit or externally from angels and ancestors that are there pushing you in one direction toward that which aligns with that which you chose prior to your coming into this form. An unction is a spiritual prompting. It is often an inner nudging from God, urging us to act or move into a specific direction. These moments are not random. They're not happenstance or coincidence. They are tied to the future that we have already co-created with God. They are tied to this future, these events that we have already co-created with God. These unctions are beckoning and summoning us toward that which is the original intent or the purpose for which we entered this three-dimensional form. So we have inspiration and we have unction. Inspiration is a glimpse of destiny, unction as a divine guidance, and then intuition. Our intuitive knowing is our inner knowing, our inner peace. Intuition can be understood as the soul's resonance with divine truth. Have you ever had an intuition, unexplainable, that is beyond anything you can define, but yet you feel an inordinate peace? Your intuition is saying to you, some call it mother wit. Okay, your intuition, instinct says to you that XYZ is the case, this is the direction, this is what's going on, this is what's happening. And you just know without any physical evidence around you that aligns with what you automatically know. You simply know because you have the evidence of a thing that is not seen. Faith is the substance, the power of things that you are expecting, hoping for, but it is also the evidence of a thing that you cannot see. There is no natural indication that it's going to take place or that it is, but there is an intuitive knowing that it does exist. And synchronicities provide you with a physical, tangible evidence that what you intuitively know is correct. Woo! Let me say it again. I said synchronicities offer you a visible, tangible indication or proof that what you intuitively know to be true really does exist and that it is true. That while every other thing around you seems to indicate something different, synchronicities come along as a physical, tangible reminder or indicator that what your intuition, your inner knowing is telling you is true, really is true. It is the evidence of things that you cannot see. Everything in your intuitive knowing says that you are going to be abundantly wealthy and have more than enough. Everything in your circumstances say, no, you're not. You came from the wrong neighborhood, grew up in the wrong family, you didn't finish school, you have this disadvantage, this disability, this working against you. Everything around you says absolutely not. But there is something down inside of you that says, yes, I am. I see it, I feel it, I sense it. And then synchronicities come and give you a visible indication, a tangible indication that what you are sensing and intuitively knowing that it will happen, it gives you an indicator that that is true. Even though your eyes cannot see it, your eye sees it, and your inner knowing tells you it absolutely is true. You know it like you know your name. You know it like you know you are breathing in and out. You know it. You know it like you know your colors. You know it. It's just there is nothing tangible that seems to agree with what you know, but intuitively, you just know by His stripes I'm healed. You just know I'm going to survive this. You just know I'm going to win. I'm going to overcome. I'm going to succeed. You just know it. You know it. Not you feel it. Knowing can produce a feeling, but knowing is not feeling. Not I feel it, I know it. Not I believe it, I know it. Not I'm hoping, I know it. And everything around around me seems to say the opposite. But there are these synchronicities, these random, seemingly random occurrences that are there reminding me and indicating to me that what I intuitively know, what I've been inspired to do, what I've glimpsed through inspiration, and what I have been divinely guided to through unctioning of angels, ancestors, and my own divinity really is true. I'm telling you that you have left yourself a trail of breadcrumbs all around you. And so don't just listen and be bogged down, constrained, and confined by the echoes of the past, but you have to listen, attune, and align yourself with the echoes of your future. The message that your future self is sending to you, that everything is going to work out exactly as it should. The song said, I've got a feeling that everything's going to be all right. Well, that indication, that feeling, that knowing is tied to your intuition, your unctioning and inspiration. It is the breadcrumb that your future self has sent to you to remind you that this isn't over, that you are going to succeed, that what you have hoped for, what you have envisioned, what you have planned, what you are progressing toward really does exist. That despite what the situations and circumstances around you may say, despite what the present reality may indicate, there is an intuitive knowing, there is an inspiration, and there is this guidance, this unctioning from within and without that keeps pushing me forward. That is my indicator that things are going to turn out exactly as they should, that all things are working together for good because I am the called of God and I am chosen in him, that is in itself before the foundations of the world. Are y'all following what I'm saying to you? I'm telling you to start paying attention to the synchronicities. Start paying attention to the inspiration that is emerging within you. Stop dismissing the ideas, the inspiration, the vision, the imaginations that are emerging within your conscious mind as crazy or dumb or far-fetched. And, that's crazy. I don't even know where that came from. That'll never happen. You are defeating yourself. Pay attention, embrace those thoughts, and align yourself to bring them into manifestation. Stop ignoring the unctionings from within and from without that something told me to do, something told me not to go, something told me I should connect with this one or that one to show up in this place at that time. Stop ignoring the something that's telling you, because the something is you. It is the divine breadcrumbs that you have left to guide you, lead you, and cut a path for you toward your original intent, purpose of your being. You have the answers loaded and coded within your DNA, but you've also left yourself breadcrumbs, inspiration, unction, and intuitive knowing, supported by synchronicities that will bring you to an expected end. Man, I could say so much more on this subject, but I'm out of time. Whew. I want to encourage you today to start paying attention to the little small things that you've been pushing to the side, and those little small thoughts that keep coming up, but you keep dismissing as impossible, improbable, never happen, not going to work, and begin to examine and embrace them and pursue. Because if you pursue, you shall recover all. You absolutely will. You will get it all. Success is woven into your DNA. Whether you succeed is whether you choose to go inward and embrace and follow the breadcrumbs, or you choose to live by echoes from the past. You either follow the echoes from the future or the echoes from the past. Which one is going to influence you? Which one is going to be the indicator? Which one is going to be the coercion tool that's used to move you? Which one will inspire you? Are you going to be moved by your inspiration, intuition, and unction? Or are you going to be moved by your trauma? Not even moved, you're really paralyzed by your trauma, by your hurt, by your pain, by your disappointment. You can choose to be traumatized or inspired. It's your choice. It's your decision. You get to decide. Either you are inspired or you are traumatized. You're moving forward or you're stagnant, standing still. My encouragement is for you to listen to the echoes of the future. Listen to the echoes of the future. Listen to your future self. Follow the breadcrumbs. Follow the yellow brick road that you have paved for yourself, leading you to the expected end. I've got so much more I can say about this. I'll probably talk about it within the partner portal with those who are partners with Emerge. I encourage you that if you're not, to consider becoming a partner with the Emerge movement. We have a very robust private group where I am able to teach the things that I don't have the opportunity to teach on this public platform, and give you information and insight and revelation that you won't get from just tuning here on Sunday. How to become a partner is written in the description above for those of you watching on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. For those of you who are watching on TikTok, go to my home page and just click the link that's there, and it'll take you to the Emerge page, and you'll have all the information you need in how you become a partner with Emerge. Or you can shoot me an inbox and I'll send you all the information that you need. I will be glad to help you along the way. Thank you so much for tuning in. I want to give you an opportunity to sow and to give in support of this platform, and to begin to get some seed in the ground to create a circulation and a current of currency flowing into your life. Those of you who've been following me for a period of time, you know that I don't have any gimmicks or games for you. The only way for you to financially prosper is through giving. That's it. You can never get a return without an investment. You don't get a harvest without a seed. You have to be a giver in order to receive. Give, and it shall be given unto you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Shall men, that is varying revenue streams, give into your bosom with the same measure you meet, it shall be measured to you again. So if you'd like to give and sow into this platform, you can do so using the information that's written above in the description. For those of you who are watching me here on Facebook and on YouTube, as well as on Instagram, I'm going to put up for you the information now for your giving. You can use our CashApp, Zelle, PayPal, or Venmo. On TikTok, I think it's just CashApp. And you can give your gift right now. I'm not telling you how much to give. I'm just telling you that we are operating within that energy of the number 9. And if you'd like to align with that energy, you can use 9 as your number of giving. Or if not, give whatever you feel inspired to, or give nothing at all. It is completely up to you. Those of you who are part of the Emerge movement, you understand what you're asked to do and your responsibilities are. Especially those of you who are following the financial fitness plan. That's something else that happens within the partner portal. We are teaching people how to be financially fit, how to prosper, and how to become rich, wealthy millionaires.
this is the place to be. You really want to be a part of the Emerge movement. We also teach you how to be physically fit. We teach you how to be spiritually fit, emotionally fit. We have a plan for you inside the Partner Portal. I appreciate each and every one of you and for your gifts and your support. Thank you for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you next week right here on the Emerge Empowerment Session. Have a good day, everybody.
Some of you are even afraid to dream, afraid to imagine. But I'm here to tell you that you are an infinite, limitless, boundless being. Are you willing to do what is necessary to have what you desire?
You've been listening to Apostle Isaac Miles, the disruptive innovator, a mentor, an author, a motivational speaker, an entrepreneur, and the founder and spiritual director at emergelec Life Enrichment Center. Please take a minute to subscribe, like, and share this page. If you'd like to become a partner, you can do so by emailing us at emerge.lifecenter@gmail.com. Again, that's emerge.lifecenter@gmail.com. Once again, thank you for watching.